Welcome to the Bare Metal Cyber CISM Prepcast. This series helps you prepare for the exam with focused explanations and practical context. The ISO/IEC 27000 family of standards provides a globally recognized foundation for managing information security in a structured, measurable, and certifiable way. At the core of this family are ISO/IEC 27001 and ISO/IEC 27002. ISO/IEC 27002 defines the requirements for establishing, operating, and improving an information security management system, or ISSM. ISO/IEC 27002 complements this by offering best practice guidance for implementing the specific controls referenced in ISO/IEC 27001. These two standards are part of a broader suite known as the ISO/IEC 27000 series, which addresses nearly every dimension of information security and privacy. Organizations around the world use ISO/IEC 2701 and 2702 to create formal security programs that can be audited and certified. The structure and discipline offered by these standards enable organizations to align security efforts with business needs, manage risk in a repeatable way, and demonstrate compliance to clients, regulators, and auditors. ISO places strong emphasis on continuous improvement and risk-based decision-making. This approach ensures that security is not static, but evolves alongside business operations and the threat landscape. ISO/IEC 27001 is organized around the Plan, Do, Check, Act cycle, often referred to as the PDCA model. This model supports a continuous improvement process that begins with strategic planning, moves through implementation, and ends with review and correction. The core clauses of ISO/IEC 27001 range from Clause 0 through Clause 10. These clauses cover essential elements such as organizational context, the scope of the ISMS, leadership responsibilities, risk assessment, operational planning, and the ongoing evaluation and improvement of the system. Annex A of ISO/IEC 27001 contains a catalog of reference control objectives and controls. These controls are categorized and mapped directly to ISO/IEC 27001, which provides detailed implementation guidance. Organizations must document their security processes, assign responsibilities, and define performance metrics to satisfy ISO requirements. The overall goal is to establish a full lifecycle model for managing information security in a disciplined, strategic, and traceable way. ISO/IEC 27002 organizes controls into four main domains. The first domain focuses on organizational controls, which include policies, governance structures, and role definitions. This domain ensures that high-level oversight and accountability are in place. The second domain, people controls, addresses human issues such as pre-employment screening, ongoing training, acceptable use, and behavior monitoring. These controls are designed to reduce risk from insider threats and human error. The third domain consists of physical controls. These include securing physical premises, protecting devices and equipment, and regulating access to sensitive locations. The fourth domain addresses technological controls, which cover encryption, access management, network security, logging, and system monitoring. Each control in ISO/IEC 27002 includes a control objective, implementation guidance, and additional considerations. This ensures that controls are applied thoughtfully and in context rather than as generic checkbox. In the ISO model, risk management is the foundation for selecting and applying controls. Before any control is implemented, the organization must conduct a formal risk assessment. This process begins by identifying information assets, the threats that could affect them, their vulnerabilities, and the potential business impact of an incident. Based on this analysis, the organization selects appropriate controls to reduce risk to an acceptable level. Once controls are selected, their justifications must be documented in a Statement of Applicability, also known as the SOA. This document maps each selected control to Annex A and explains why it was chosen or excluded. It becomes one of the most important reference documents in the ISMS. Risk treatment decisions, whether to mitigate, accept, transfer, or avoid risk, must also be included. Ongoing risk monitoring ensures that changes in threats, assets, or business context are addressed proactively and reflected in updated assessments. Roles and responsibilities are central to ISO implementation. Top management must demonstrate visible commitment by approving the ISMS, allocating resources, and communicating its importance to the organization. The Information Security Manager is typically responsible for building, operating, and maintaining the ISMS. This includes coordinating audits, training, risk assessments, and reporting to leadership. For more cyber-related content and books, please check out cyberauthor.me. Also, there are other podcasts on cybersecurity and more at baremetalcyber.com. Risk owners are individuals responsible for making decisions about specific risks. They understand the context of the asset, the nature of the threat, and the business impact of potential outcomes. Internal auditors play another key role by assessing whether documented processes are being followed and whether controls are functioning effectively. Every employee is also responsible for meeting assigned security requirements. ISO recognizes that security is a shared responsibility across the entire organization. The ISO standards come with significant documentation and evidence requirements. A documented security policy must reflect the organization's objectives and be consistent with its business and regulatory context. A risk assessment methodology must be clearly defined, along with a formal treatment plan that maps identified risks to control selections. The statement of applicability must explain which Annex A controls have been selected and why. Other required documents include detailed operational procedures, training records, control performance data, and audit logs. Incident records must also be maintained, along with evidence of corrective actions taken. All of this documentation supports accountability, transparency, and readiness for both internal and external audits. It also provides the historical data needed to evaluate performance and drive improvements. Certification to ISO/IEC 27001 follows a defined process. Before seeking certification, organizations must perform internal audits to ensure readiness. When they are ready, an external certification body conducts a two-stage audit. Stage 1 is a readiness review that verifies documentation and initial implementation. Stage 2 is a full assessment that includes process validation, employee interviews, and control testing. Once certification is granted, organizations are subject to annual surveillance audits. These audits verify that the ISMS is being maintained and that no significant gaps have emerged. Every 3 years, a full recertification audit is required. If nonconformities are discovered, the organization must implement corrective actions and provide evidence of remediation. This ensures that certification remains valid and meaningful over time. Compared to other frameworks like COVID or the NIST cybersecurity framework, ISO offers a unique focus. ISO provides a certifiable structure for information security management with defined controls and detailed documentation standards. COVID emphasizes governance alignment and business integration, while NIST CSF focuses on functional flexibility and outcome-based improvement. ISO emphasizes operational discipline and process rigor, making it particularly well-suited to regulated or high-assurance environments. ISO controls can also be mapped to both COVID and NIST CSF objectives, allowing organizations to create hybrid models. This flexibility is helpful for enterprises that must meet both internal governance expectations and external regulatory demands. When embedded correctly, ISO 27001 can enhance enterprise risk management by adding formality, evidence, and auditability to the security program. Implementing ISO does come with challenges. One major hurdle is the documentation burden. Creating and maintaining the required documentation takes time, coordination, and consistent effort. Executive support is also critical. Without leadership endorsement, it becomes difficult to allocate resources and drive cross-functional compliance. Legacy processes can also pose challenges. Aligning old systems or informal practices with ISO's standards may require rework or cultural change. Organizations must also balance the formalism of controls with the need for agility. Too much rigidity can stifle innovation or overwhelm teams. Periodic review and improvement are essential to keeping the ISMS current and effective. Certification is not the end of the process. It is the beginning of a structured approach to continuous improvement. Failure to maintain the system can lead to non-compliance or loss of certification. To sustain an ISO-based program, formal governance structures must be in place. This includes assigning owners to each ISMS domain, setting reporting expectations, and maintaining performance reviews. Regular audits, both internal and external, help validate effectiveness and uncover opportunities for refinement. Performance metrics, incident statistics, and audit findings should be tracked and analyzed to guide decision-making. Risk assessments must be revisited periodically, especially when business conditions or technologies change. New initiatives, acquisitions, or system implementations may introduce new risks or invalidate existing assumptions. A successful ISO program treats the ISSMs as a living system, one that evolves, adapts, and matures over time. By embedding ISO into business processes and strategic planning, organizations create a durable foundation for managing information security at scale. Thanks for joining us for this episode of the Bare Metal Cyber CISM Prepcast. For more episodes, tools, and study support, visit us at baremetalcyber.com.